Mark Ruffalo's rag-to-riches story started long before he earned millions to portray a big green guy on screen. Long before he spoiled the finale of one of the most anticipated movies of that year. No, we haven't forgotten Mark. And long before he became an aggressive monster. Although, wait.
I'm always angry.
Has he ever had a problem with anger management? How did he nearly die? Has he lost anyone in life? Mark's problem started during his childhood, when he realized he had been falling behind his classmates. Like many actors, Mark Ruffalo had dyslexia when he was a child, and that's why he had difficulty reading. Later in an interview, he revealed that even though it was very hard for him to study, he still managed to graduate from high school somehow. Furthermore, it's interesting to note that Ruffalo had ADD as a child as well, which is common for people with dyslexia. ADD stands for Attention Deficit Disorder, which is when someone finds it difficult to focus on something that needs both care and consideration. So it increases their chances of making careless mistakes when it comes to their schoolwork and other business. It's no wonder that Ruffalo decided to follow his father's footsteps, who became the city champion 3 times. And so Ruffalo thought of devoting his life to wrestling. After he graduated from high school, the family moved to San Diego, which turned out to be a fatal mistake for them. Within 6 months, we went from normal to bankrupt and eliminated as a family, the actor said. Soon after, the father left his wife and 4 children and returned to Wisconsin. Ruffalo was a great wrestler in school, but despite being told that he could receive a scholarship, he chose to pursue an acting career instead. However, his wrestling experience did prove useful when he portrayed a wrestler in Foxcatcher, and this role even got him an Oscar nomination. Ruffalo has shared that lately he has been thinking of returning to sports. I had this little fantasy that maybe I'll do the seniors grand tournament, and I'll show people that you can be a 47-year-old man doing it, and that wrestling's really accessible to people. But in his 20s, Mark could think of nothing else but the career of an actor. Soon after his dad left the town, Ruffalo went to LA and started taking classes at the Stella Adler Academy, where his classmates included Benicio del Toro and Salma Hayek. Along with his brother and friends, Ruffalo was renting an apartment that cost the 4 of them $600, and he said it was simultaneously the best and the worst time of his life. But Hollywood wasn't easy to conquer, and it had been many years before people started recognizing him and asking for an autograph. He has auditioned for about 800 roles without a callback. Yep, you heard that correctly. Mark Ruffalo heard the word no 800 times, and it was at least 801 times that he got up in the morning with a relentless desire to make his dream come true. And all this time, Mark wasn't even living in the best area of the city. Even after he got his first paid acting gig, he could not afford to move out of MacArthur Park, Los Angeles, an area known for drug dealers and dangerous addicts. The constant stress and rejection eventually started to take their toll, and Ruffalo developed serious anger management problems. The actor later revealed more about this in an interview. There was a time if you came into my apartment, there were pictures and posters hanging in very odd places where they were covering fist holes through walls, adding glasses that had been thrown through, coffee mugs, books, whatever I could get a hold of. He was the textbook definition of a young guy with a victimhood complex. Mark struggled as a young actor, whether it was imaginary suffering or real persecution at the hands of others. It was easy for him to revisit those dark places. But when it rains, it pours. So to add to that, Mark also suffered from insomnia. He couldn't fall asleep at night, and it may all have become worse if it wasn't for the advice of one of his friends. I had a friend who had been a longtime drug addict, Ruffalo told Rolling Stone. He did the meditation program, and we hooked up again after a couple years. He had been the angriest man in the world, and he had such a calm demeanor. I had never seen a human being change that much. Mark decided to try that and had no regrets. Everything changed. My work started to change. My luck started to change. The way the world looked at me changed. He started taking things easier, and it seemed that his life was finally settled. By the mid-1990s, Ruffalo was ready to throw in the towel. I was doing all these plays. I couldn't get anyone to come. I sucked at auditioning. It was a really low point. In the meantime, Ruffalo Painting, his dad's company, had just landed a big job from Chrysler and was making money hand over fist. His dad kept asking him to go back home and help with the business. Even though Mark's mother kept telling him to follow his dreams, Mark was exhausted and returned home. However, this didn't last for long because everything did not go as planned. Whatever we want to think about American business, work hard, tell the truth, have morality, it's a myth. There's a lot of graft. They're paying off inspectors. Every day you're asked to compromise your integrity in some way, and I didn't like it. The actor returned to Hollywood, and this time he conquered it. After his big role in You Can Count on Me, Ruffalo was bombarded with offers, and his life started turning into the American dream. He even married the girl of his dreams, Sunrise Coigney, whom he had been dating for 2 years. Ruffalo and Coigney met in 1988 on the streets. I was living in a dump and didn't even have a driver's license or a credit card. She thought I was a mess, but she believed in me and kept kept encouraging me. I saw her and was like, I'm going to marry that girl, he told Men's Journal. The couple was getting ready to welcome their first baby when the catastrophe happened just a few weeks before the occasion. Ruffalo was filming The Last Castle, starring Robert Redford. It was big time, Ruffalo says. There I was with one of my heroes, Robert Redford, doing this walk and talk. I'm like, what the f*** am I doing here? This is my wildest dream come true. But everything got messed up. In an uncanny set of events, Ruffalo had a dream that he had a tumor, which caused him to go to the doctor in fear. When he went in for a CT scan, the doctors told him he was right. They said they could operate, but there was a 30% chance he might lose the use of the left side of his face. Mark didn't want to worry his pregnant wife and told her nothing before she gave birth to their child. A week after Keen was born, the actor told her the truth, and 2 weeks after that, he went in for surgery. He was sure he was going to die, but he was mostly afraid of his baby growing up without a father. I made a tape for him, Ruffalo says, for when he was old enough to understand, just saying, hey, this is who I am. The tumor turned out to be benign, but the surgery almost totally paralyzed the left side of his face. Ruffalo went into hiding for months. He never answered any calls, and he could just sit there staring at the wall for hours. And even though he was responsible for not just himself, but also for his family, he wasn't sure he'd ever be able to work again. Mark Ruffalo, he who just a month earlier was at the peak of his career, who married the girl of his dreams, who starred in dream movies. How could it all go wrong? For a year, Mark just stopped living his life. But after some time, he started to feel more hopeful about his future. Mark Ruffalo got back on his feet and started acting again. For 6 long years, he forgot that life is not a Disney fairy tale and anything could still happen. In December 2008, Mark found out the awful news that his younger brother Scotty, with whom he came to Hollywood, was killed. He was a popular hairdresser in Beverly Hills. Back when they were living together, Ruffalo says he sometimes felt like it was Scott who was the older brother, not the other way around. I was the actor who was pushing 30 and still doing 30-seat theaters, he says, and he was the mayor of Beverly Hills. For years, people would meet me and go, "You're Scotty Ruffalo's brother? I love your brother. He's f***ing amazing." Ruffalo admits that for a long time he felt guilty about Scott's death. Though the actor had been cast to star in Noah Baumbach's Greenberg at the time, he decided to drop out of the indie flick to grieve. But with the support of his wife and 3 children, Mark got over his guilt. For a few years, the Ruffalos were splitting their time between upstate New York and LA, where they had a house in the Hollywood Hills. Ruffalo realized that he was taking every job that came along in order to support their LA lifestyle. And my kids were growing up without me. These days, the Ruffalos spend much of their time at their house in Callicoon, New York, a little town on the Delaware River 2 hours from Manhattan, population 167. And after so many ups and downs, he knows there is not much point in being worried. It's been up, down, and sideways for me, man. He says, I could become a huge star, or I could get cancer tomorrow. Shit happens. But at this point, I feel like I'm starting to get close to the peak. In 5 or 10 years, I'll be peaking out. And I really want to enjoy it while I have it. Comment below and tell us what you think about this story. Thanks for watching. Check out these other great stories from OSSA and subscribe for new videos about your favorite stars.